Welcome back to our KU Student Senate debate coverage presented by the UDK, KJHK, and KUJH. I'm Sierra Upton here with Student Body President Marcus Tetwiler, who's here to analyze what we just watched. So, Marcus, in your humble opinion, who won the debate?
Looking at it as objectively as I can, the way the debate was structured, I think it's very difficult to articulate a winner. There wasn't really an opportunity for rebuttals in the sense that, some high school debate champion. KU is a university that has, one of the best debate teams in the country. We're a powerhouse. A lot of what a debate comes down to is the ability of an individual to make an effective rebuttal, and then for the other person to make a comment off of that. I think what we saw tonight with the three candidates was a very civil experience. There was a lot of openness. There was a lot of, Sierra, honestly, I was surprised. There were lots of moments of agreement. And I think that is a testament to the quality of all three coalitions. The ideas have been vetted. The ideas have been researched. Each candidate really went through line by line. Well, I met with this administrator. I talked to this individual. I did my research here. I talked to this individual. It made it very hard for the candidates to disagree with each other with the amount of preparation and homework that they all had done. I think my takeaway, instead of being able to identify a clear and front winner, I think my takeaway is that each coalition was very prepared and each coalition was very civil and very responsible in their communication with the other candidates. I thought it was organized very well. I thought the questions, especially the questions from our online guests, Twitter and everything like that, I thought those were very good and very on point. I'd say this is a success for the entire organization, Student Senate, and for everyone who wants to participate in it.
Well, you kind of touched on the civility of this debate, and we were kind of talking about last year's elections and your debate. You mentioned that it was not so civil.
I really think that the way it's structured this year, there's not a clear, Jedi Sith sort of conversation. What we really tried to do last year was paint the picture as, we were the Rebel Alliance and we were taking on the unbeatable Empire. And that allowed for some great offensive moves and some great counterpunches in the debate. Tonight, it's a much more level playing field. It didn't feel like David versus Goliath. It didn't feel like there was, one coalition so much further ahead than the other coalition. I really looked at it as an even playing field. Moving forward, I just really was impressed by not only the presidential debate, but also the vice presidential debate. I thought the vice presidential debate had a lot of good questions. I think it was an opportunity for us to really get to know the candidates. Mitchell Cota's story I thought was very heartfelt on his experience, and it really showed a lot of his character. We learned a little bit about Miranda Wagner, and we learned about how she's not, 100% diehard, start to finish student senator, but she'd been involved with other organizations. I think that's great. And we also learned a lot about Sarah Anise, who from her freshman year to now has experienced the highs, the lows, and has a multifaceted appreciation and perspective on what Student Senate is. So whether you're looking at the vice presidential debate or the presidential debate, I saw a lot of agreement and a lot of civility.
And I was going to talk to you about Mitchell Cota because he seemed like he had by far and away the most passion. I mean, as a minority himself, he spoke a little bit about his struggles and how he wants to make sure that no other minorities at KU have to go through what he went through. Do you feel like he was the winner, I guess, of the vice presidential debate, and how much did he help his presidential counterpart?
I think each of the vice presidential candidates really helped their presidential counterparts, but Mitchell especially, he is a passionate individual, and he has experienced an aspect of the university that I can't even put myself in those shoes, because his unique experience has been one that makes him an effective leader. And we've already seen him as an effective leader to this point. He's done a lot of work through the Multicultural Affairs Committee within Student Senate. He's already a leader. He's already shown that within this capacity, his experiences and his story and his tale sets him to be a great partner for the Jayhawkers. He's a great leader. I certainly hats off to the amount of passion, like you said, Sierra. I don't know if there's a clear-cut winner, because again, the opportunity to make a rebuttal was not there, but his passion was clear, as was Miranda's, as was Sarah Anise's.
So you mentioned he's a great leader. He's obviously very in tune with the minorities at KU. Do you feel like almost he would have been a better choice for presidential candidate for the Jayhawkers?
I would not ever step into that conversation. After the democratically elected caucusing system, where all members of the coalition were able to participate in the nomination and selection of these candidates, I think they did a great job, these coalitions, in getting the right people to this debate to represent the university. I think one way, if you're looking at the Jayhawkers, if you're looking at some of the conversations that Sarah Neese and Kevin Hundelt are bringing to the table, or if you're looking at Grow KU, if you're in any of these coalitions' corner, you've got to be very pleased with the way they performed tonight.
So I know you kind of didn't want to touch on this before the debates, but now that you've heard everyone, do you have any coalition that you're willing to endorse at this point?
I think when you look at the concept of endorsing, it's kind of a cost-benefit analysis. Does me coming out and saying, I 100% believe that this team is more feasible and has done more research than another team, what cost would that put on the team that I would be endorsing? Maybe none, maybe some. In my time at Student Senate, in my office as student body president, we've had the benefit of not having a coalition run beneath us. I'm not trying to get anyone elected to fulfill my position, and that's allowed us to be really effective all the way up until the end of our term, because we're not really accountable. We're on the way out. We don't have a re-election campaign. I really do think that after seeing these conversations tonight and the way the questions were handled appropriately and civilly, I think that there is a great opportunity for new ideas and leadership. What I will say, authoritatively, is any time that you have a platform that you think can get done in 1 year, such as an on-campus bus route that you're going to have done in time for finals week. Those bus routes for the following fiscal year have already been set. So that work would have had to have already be done. So a lot of these platforms and a lot of these conversations, I know, probably too much as someone who has been a part of some administrative conversations, you're not going to see these platforms done like this. We've had a really fortunate year in that we picked platforms that we looked at in terms of feasibility. Some of these platforms will be difficult, if not impossible, to be done in 1 year's time, because a lot of those routes and a lot of those financial future fiscal year conversations have already taken place, and that's kind of what happens in the spring semester at the University of Kansas.
So you're saying that some of these platforms from the coalitions, they're not 100% feasible?
I definitely believe, I'm not going to say which, I'm not going to say where. I think an audience that is in tune with the coalition system and in tune with the way administrators kind of respond to these ideas and intentions by the students. We were lucky to get done what we did get done, and it took a lot of work. We didn't get it 100% done. When these coalitions, whoever wins, steps into the position that someone will be in my desk, it will be tremendously difficult to get all of these platforms completed. And some of the windows of opportunity for those platforms to be realized in the following fiscal year have already passed. So that's definitely something to keep your eye on in terms of looking at them objectively and through the lens of feasibility.
And I wanted to quickly touch on, they mentioned that some of them mentioned that they wanted to make sure that the funds for the next Senate, after them even, were not drained. Can you tell us a little bit about why they specifically mentioned that? Have there been problems in the past?
Yeah, absolutely. We have, in the past, financially been very stable in Student Senate, and 3 years ago our unallocated account was nearly $150,000. This year we had $50,000. And that's because you see big projects being pushed through without a look into the future. I think they need to be very conservative and careful with student dollars.
And can you tell us really quickly what's next for these candidates?
No sleep, a lot of work and a lot of effort, and I think they're going to do a great job representing the university next week.
All right, thank you so much for your analysis. Marcus Tetwiler, KU Student Body President, and thank you for joining us tonight.
Sierra, thank you so much for having me. I think it was a great evening.
And thank you at home for joining us for this debate coverage this evening, presented by the University Daily Kansan, KUJH, and KJHK. Remember to vote April 9th and 10th at one of the 2 polling sites located at Wesco and Mrs. E's by Lewis Hall, or online at ku.edu. Have a great night.